Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call this afternoon, and those of you that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. We like to move quickly, bottom line the information for you. We know you're busy people. You have other things that you'd like to do. We have a standard format. We spend a few minutes talking about the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies, a few minutes talking about the program we've put in place to assist you, and then we go to a brief Q&A. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about the situation evolving in Iraq. We view the Iraqi dinar as the base currency for the reinstitution and revaluation of some of these other currencies. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating the sale or purchase of these currencies, but we are sharing with you the information that we think is relevant as substantial currency holders ourselves. First, I'd like to talk very briefly about the window for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. Earlier in the year, I felt that the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar in the first quarter of this year was likely. I've downgraded that to the reinstitution being a possibility, but not as likely as I thought it was, say, a month ago. And, of course, if we get to, say, mid-March, I don't even want to see a reinstitution until April, because I do not want to see the revaluation of this currency the last few days in a quarter, because that puts the squeeze on us in terms of taxes and exchanges and all of that. So I still think, again, the first quarter is a possibility for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar, and these are some of the reasons. The 2019 budget is in the Gazette, so that is now virtually a done deal. The United States and Germany have reiterated their substantial financial and investment interests and commitments for Iraq, their economy, rebuilding their infrastructure, and assisting the nation to transition from a centralized control type of a situation to more of a free market society. Now, the Parliament is still dealing with some of the unconfirmed ministerial seats for Prime Minister Mahdi. But if every other issue is dealt with, I do not think that this issue would hold up the reinstitution of the currency whenever that happens. One issue of concern for the United States is there still remains some of the auctions, and the U.S. opposes the auction of the dollar. The continued reliance on the U.S. dollar tends to weaken the Iraqi economy. It also contributes to the possibility for money laundering, which, of course, is helpful to the Iranians, which the United States opposes. As a matter of fact, the NSA had stopped the reinstitution of the dinar in January, citing their concerns about Iraq and their influence in the country. And the CBI has now issued a resolution requiring that Iraqi banks adopt self-funding rather than these auctions to acquire the U.S. dollar. So the situation with Iran continues to create a problem for the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar. The Iranian mullahs have even gone so far as to issue a threat that they would print and disseminate counterfeit dinar in order to weaken the dinar against the U.S. dollar. So there are some issues that need to be dealt with, but essentially at this point, in my opinion, the problem is the United States' concern for the undue and unnecessary and destructive influence of Iran in Iraq. But hopefully this issue will get resolved to the satisfaction of the United States, and Iraq can move forward with the reinstitution and eventual revaluation of their dinar. Now, interestingly enough, I was contacted by an individual who claims, and I have no reason to disbelieve him, to have a lot of experience working with these auctions, and he explained in some detail some things that were, in terms of being in depth and a little bit more than I tend to explain. I can understand why he thought that I did not give the complete story, but again, I don't concentrate on the minutia in these issues. He also said that he was a little skeptical of the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, and I have no problem, expressing this to those of you that are listening. My response to him was simple, and it was that he may have, as a matter of fact, I forgot to mention, he said that he was actually involved in some of these auctions. And again, I have no reason to disbelieve this person, but what I pointed out to him was that I was personally involved in the reinstitution of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s, and a substantial amount of these dinar, which I purchased for pennies on a dollar, I was able to exchange within a matter of months for over $3 per dinar. So he didn't seem to have a response to that, because I think he is aware that that did in fact happen. And so my argument is, if it happened in Kuwait, it certainly could happen in Iraq, especially since the international community has invested nearly $3 trillion in Iraq since 2003. It seems only logical to me that the international community would like a return on their investment. So that's the information I have for today. And again, I'm not as bullish on the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar in the first quarter. It's possible, but it's not as likely as I would have thought, say, a month ago. But that is, however, no reason not to plan for the reinstitution, because at some point the nation-state of Iraq is going to have a viable international currency, and for that to happen, they must first reinstitute. So to that end, Trusts Unlimited has put a program in place to assist you. It's a turnkey program. It's a two-phased program. Phase 1 is pre-RV. Phase 2 is post-RV. Pre-RV involves the establishment of a package of pre-RV asset protection trusts. Phase 2 involves all of the product, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of the dinar and hopefully some of these other currencies. But let's start with Phase 1, which is the establishment of your package of pre-RV asset protection trusts, with the assignment of your currencies on paper to that trust package. Very simply, a trust is a legal instrument one can establish to hold, to manage, and to protect assets. Trust can fall into some basic categories. For example, a trust can be revocable or it can be irrevocable. In order to have the asset protection you're going to need and want, you're going to need to establish a package of irrevocable trusts, and it must be established for the following reasons. First, by establishing this pre-RV package of asset protection trusts and assigning your currencies on paper to that trust package, you will be able to protect your privacy and your anonymity. That's because assets held within an irrevocable trust are sealed, and the general public will have no knowledge of your net worth or your actual holdings. Second, by establishing this trust package, you will be able to successfully avoid IRS scrutiny. If you're holding these currencies in direct title when they revalue, the IRS computers will probably be spitting out an audit. And with the potential magnitude of this revaluation relative to prior year's earnings, you're probably looking at a full-blown 6-year audit. Such an audit would be time-consuming, it would be frustrating, and frankly, it would probably cost you more than an asset protection trust package. On the other hand, if your trust is in place and your currencies are assigned to that trust package pre-RV, you have successfully transferred the taxable event of the revaluation from yourself personally to the trust. Now, that's important for a couple of reasons. First, there's less than a 10% chance of an IRS audit if the revaluation occurs within the trust. And second, and most importantly, even if the IRS determines to audit your trust, they cannot do a 6-year audit. Why? Because the only taxable event within the trust will be the revaluation itself. The third reason you'd want to establish this trust package is if you plan on gifting currency to family and friends in certain situations. Philanthropic gifting can always be done on a tax-preferred basis, either pre- or post-RV. But in order to avoid a substantial 40% federal gift tax, you're going to need to gift currencies prior to their revaluation. Now, if you're gifting to individuals that you have no problem giving them the currency to exchange for themselves, or giving them the lump sum after you've conducted the exchange, that can be done outside of a trust with a standard gift letter. But if you are hesitant for any reason to give these individuals the post-RV lump sum, then you can gift to them through our trust package. We've established a special gift subtrust for that purpose. By gifting through this gift subtrust, you'll avoid the 40% federal gift tax. The language of this subtrust allows you to gift up to a certain amount of a currency or currencies, meaning you can gift the exact U.S. dollar amount that you had in mind, irrespective of the exchange rate. And because you're gifting through this trust package, you will be able to manage, invest, and distribute the money to these individuals as you deem appropriate. The fourth reason you'd want to establish this trust package is because it's been structured in such a way as to allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. I'll give you two quick scenarios. Scenario number one, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs in the state of $25 million. Now that estate must go through probate, a process that ordinarily can take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. The probate is a public disclosure process, meaning that the general public will be aware of the size of your estate, who your heirs are, and how much they each stand to inherit. So if anyone feels they have a legitimate claim against you, your estate, or your heirs, they can simply file that claim with the probate court. And that could tie the estate up for years, and in some cases even decades. And your heirs will have either limited access or no access at all to their respective inheritance until the probate process is completed. Then there's something called the federal estate tax, the tax that the federal government will assess in order for that estate to be transferred to heirs. Under current law, approximately $10 million of that $25 million estate would bypass any federal estate tax, but the balance could be taxed as much as 55%. Scenario number two, you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000. The day after that, you assign those currencies on paper to our asset protection trust package. The day after that, those currencies revalue for $25 million. The day after that, you pass away, leaving your heirs that same estate of $25 million, but this time protected in our asset protection trust package. As a result, there will be no probate, there will be no public disclosure of your estate, your heirs will have immediate access to their respective inheritance, and the federal estate tax will be zero, saving your heirs as much as 55% of their inheritance. The fifth reason you'd want to establish this pre-RV asset protection trust package is for some very specific asset protection benefits. One pre-RV, one post-RV. Pre-RV, this trust package will allow you to circumvent something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. What does that mean? Under our system of civil procedure, you can only be sued for what you own in direct title or the value of property at the time you transfer it out of title to an entity like our irrevocable trust package. This has a lot of benefit for you. Let's use the previous example from before. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer the currencies to your trust. They subsequently revalue for $25 million. You begin to live a lifestyle more reflective of your newfound wealth, and a couple of years down the road, someone decides for whatever reason that since you're living so comfortably, they're going to sue you. Well, this prospective plaintiff has a couple of problems. First, he or she better have a very strong case and very deep pockets, because this trust is structured in such a way as to make it extremely expensive and extremely time-consuming to pursue civil litigation. Second, and most importantly, pursuant to the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act, once the prospective plaintiff learns that the only thing they could win by way of a civil award would be the pre-RV value of $5,000, what the property was worth when you transferred it to the trust, and none of the post-RV value of $25 million, there will be no lawsuit. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you have acquired this wealth. And this protection is accomplished through a legal strategy called segregation of assets. And this is how it would work. Again, we'll use the same example. You purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, transfer the currencies to your trust. They subsequently revalue for 25 million. Now that you have 25 million in trust, you decide to make some purchases. So you purchase a larger primary residence, a vacation home, perhaps a half a dozen rental properties for tax write-off and additional cash flow, a couple of cars, a boat, and let's say an RV. But as you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate subtrust to be managed by your master trust. Now, why is this an important strategy, legal strategy, in terms of asset protection? Well, let's say one day you were driving one of your new cars, you have an accident, the accident is clearly your fault, and tragically someone is seriously injured or even killed. Well, the family of the victim is going to want to sue you. But remember, civil suits are about monetary awards, and you don't legally own anything. So the plaintiffs would be left to sue the owner of the car that you were driving. Well, who owns that car? One of your subtrusts. And what's in that subtrust? Merely that one car and the car insurance policy. Now, in that scenario, the car insurance carrier would negotiate an out-of-court settlement with the victim's family. You would not be involved in this rather unpleasant negotiations. The car insurance carrier would repair or replace your car, making you whole. And this is important. All of your other assets are safely protected in other subtrusts. Now, why are those assets protected? Because under the law, those separate subtrusts are separate legal entities, and the plaintiffs would have no standing to pursue a separate legal entity on the basis of that car accident. So your trust package works very much the way a barge would work, where all of the valuable cargo is stored in a series of small compartments. Why? In the event that any compartment is ever breached, the only potential loss would be the cargo in that one compartment. The cargo in the other compartments is safe and secure due to the firewalls, and the barge will never sink. Now, these benefits are lost to you if you do not establish your asset protection trust package prior to the revaluation of these currencies. Now, there is one other benefit, and it's this. If you are, in fact, a holder of one of our pre-RV asset protection trust packages, then you will be eligible to participate in all the product, services, and professional referrals that will be made available to you after the revaluation of these currencies. I'll just make mention of one here today. Trusts Unlimited will be sponsoring a post-RV seminar to be held in Disney World, Florida, approximately 30 days after the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Present at that seminar will, of course, be the staff of Trusts Unlimited to assist you with the management and funding of your trust packages. Many of our clients have expressed desires to establish scholarship funds, foundational trusts, special needs trusts, charitable remainder trusts, and even the more complicated 501c3 nonprofit and offshore trusts. And the proper way to fund those entities would be to transfer funds directly from your pre-RV asset protection trust to those newly formed entities. We'll have our tax specialists there to assist you. Our offshore specialists will show you that by establishing offshore title of certain assets, you can substantially reduce and in some cases eliminate future taxes on the reinvestment of the net proceeds from the revaluation itself. We'll also have our independent fee-based wealth managers there as well. You're going to want to reposition assets after the revaluation for a number of reasons. First, we know statistically that 95% of all windfalls, however large and from whatever source, are lost within 3 to 5 years due to mismanagement, inexperience, and fraud. We also know that under the new G20 bank bail-in provisions, the failure of banks in the future will no longer be made whole through the general taxing authority of the respective governments, but first and foremost by the confiscation of funds at the accounts at those banks. So you're going to want to get money out of the banks and at work in other markets as quickly as possible as well. We also know that the general global shift from fiat-based to Basel III compliant commodity-based currencies in and of itself is going to create extremely volatile financial markets, and you're going to want a substantial amount of your holdings to be intangible assets as well. Now, our trust package is initially a package of 10 trusts consisting of one master trust that will hold your assigned currencies pre-RV and hold financial assets like bank accounts and investment accounts post-RV, one optional gift sub-trust that can be utilized if you plan on gifting pre-RV currencies to family and friends, which sub-trust can be converted to a standard sub-trust, and 8 additional standard sub-trusts to hold physical assets like homes, cars, boats, etc. Now, this was the simplification of a rather sophisticated trust package that we've utilized in the past for our more affluent clients, a package that has an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But when we decided to work with Dinarians, we knew that that price tag was going to be unaffordable for many. So by restructuring and simplifying this trust package, we've been able to reduce the cost to $3,000. Now, there are several ways you can pay for that. Pay us up front. We'll discount the price further to $2,500. If that's not possible, we even have a deferred payment arrangement. You'd make an initial payment of $525, which sum would basically offset our out-of-pocket costs just to produce and deliver your trust. The balance of the $3,000 would then be paid in $100 monthly installments. We will charge no interest. The only proviso is once the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar occurs, any unpaid balance would need to be paid within 30 days. With this approach, anyone that has currencies and understands the need for establishing their trust package pre-RV should be in a position to afford to do so. One other suggestion, we do accept credit cards. So if you pay us up front with a credit card, not only will you get the $500 discount, but the minimum payment on that credit card would be less than the $100 a month you'd be paying us under our deferred payment arrangement. But we will work with you in whatever method works best for you. Our objective is to help you get your affairs in order and your trust in place prior to the revaluation of the dinar and these other currencies for all of the reasons that I've stated here. Now, we're going to be going to the Q&A in just a minute, but again, for the benefit of our newer callers, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about Trusts Unlimited and why you may want to seriously consider allowing us to assist you. Our trust package was authored by our attorney, Robert Bly. He's been a practicing attorney for over 40 years, specializing in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning. I myself hold degrees in political science, macroeconomics, and finance. I've worked in these areas for over 38 years, and I, along with my clients, were personally involved in the reinstatement of the Kuwaiti dinar in the early 90s. So between the two of us, Robert Bly and I have over 78 years' experience working precisely in this area. Now, Bob and I have been working together for a decade in the areas of estate planning, asset protection, and offshore planning, and it has been disheartening from time to time to see people walk away from sound estate planning and trust creation because of the mistaken belief that by doing so they have somehow lost control of their affairs and their assets. In point of fact, it's just the reverse. It's when you hold assets in direct title that you can lose control of them. And invariably, it's at precisely those times that you need and want control that you lost it. If you've lived for any length of time, you've either experienced directly in your own life or through friends and family things like unexpected divorce, permanent incapacitation, the onset of dementia, premature death and prolonged and complicated probate processes. Then there are substantial investment losses, business losses, and even bankruptcies. The number 2 loss of wealth now in the aggregate, courtesy of the information age, is identity theft. But the number 1 loss of personal wealth remains confiscation through civil litigation. Anything you own in direct title can be taken from you. So in point of fact, the only way that you can manage, protect, and control everything at all times and in all circumstances is through the establishment of a package of irrevocable trusts, and particularly if you have an asset like these currencies that you're anticipating a substantial increase in value. And we at Trusts Unlimited will do everything we can to help you accomplish your personal and financial objectives both pre- and post-RV as we understand them. So again, I'd like to thank you for listening to the call. We're going to be going to the Q&A in just a minute. I will be giving our newer callers our contact information, so you may want to have a pen and paper handy. If you are interested in what we've had to say today, we invite you to ask us for our initial trust package. It has a lot of information about us, about trusts, about the revaluation. You're under absolutely no obligation whatsoever by receiving this package, even though it contains everything you need if you should decide to proceed. We suggest you review the package. Contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, and there will be no consultation fee. Again, we're doing everything we can to help you make an informed decision prior to the revaluation of these currencies for the reasons that I've stated. So I'm going to open the Q&A here. 2 quick rules on the Q&A. We don't take any service calls on the Q&A. This is reserved for people asking questions about our program. But that reminds me, I have a number of people to call. Some of you have trust packages in progress, and you will be hearing from me this afternoon after this call. And second rule, for obvious reasons, in order to participate in the Q&A, your name and number must be on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and open the Q&A now. And while I'm waiting for any potential questions, I'd like to give you our contact information. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. If you'd like to listen to a recent conference call playback, or if you'd be kind enough to refer us to someone that might be interested in our services, you can either go to YouTube and go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can go to IQD calls and go to Trusts Unlimited, or you can simply dial the same number that you dialed for this live call this afternoon, with the exception of the last 2 digits. Rather than dialing 40, you'll dial 39 and then use the same access code, which is 739-394-pound. If you'd like to be included on our email list, you can go to our website, go to the bottom, enter your name and email address where indicated. You should be on our email list within 24 hours. Bear in mind that we only send emails out very periodically, pre-RV, but post-RV emails may go out as often as daily. So let's go to the Q&A here. Our first caller is area code 316. That's 316. Go ahead.
Yes, good morning. Kudos on another fine call.
Thank you.
You may have answered my question in terms of calling back people who have questions on the order form and the package application. I do have some questions. I was hoping to
yes, sir.
speak with someone.
I see your name and number on the screen here, Gene, and Jeannie, it says here, and we do have an email from you as well, so you'll be hearing from me this afternoon.
Great. Thank you so much, and continued success.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, our next caller is area code 312. That's 312. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim, it's Les. Good afternoon.
How you doing,
How's your day? Man, I'm doing all right.
The weather up there?
It's raining. It was supposed to be a bunch of snow,
I'm shocked. It must be a freezing rain.
It was, but it's rain now. It's just wet rain because, well, of course, rain is wet. But it's not cold enough to do anything where it'll freeze, you know.
Actually, that's good.
Yeah, but I was looking for the snow so I can use my snowblower.
Oh. Well, you don't have to move anything with rain.
No, you don't. Just get wet and go dry off.
Right.
Yeah. So
what can I do for
my
you?
question, now, you were involved in the Kuwaiti deal.
Yes.
Even before I get to that, I think that guy that you were talking to was wanting you to convince him that he should get in because he just threw those questions at you to...
No, well, actually, this guy was an interesting guy. He initially didn't have... he initially was kind of rough with me, but after we talked for a few minutes, he sort of calmed down, and he had some insights for me. And if he's telling me the truth, he has been integrally involved in auctions in Iraq. He said I'd made an error in what I said. What I hadn't made an error. I just didn't clarify something to the point. But when he offered his cynicism, or rather his skepticism about the Iraqi dinar and these other currencies, I basically explained to him what my experience was. And the saying is, a man with experience has nothing to fear from a man with an argument. So on the issue of the reinstitution, my point to him was, well, I've already been through one, so I know it can happen. Exactly.
He needed convincing himself.
Maybe, but I'm not putting the guy down. He seemed like a very intelligent, very well-informed guy, and I've said before, I'm not the Oracle of Delphi. I don't know everything. If you stop learning, you stop growing. So, the Greeks have a saying: you're indebted to anyone that teaches you something. So, I'm not putting the guy down at all. He just isn't as bullish on the eventual revaluation as I am. But, like I said, my experience says that these things have happened.
Book smart and your past experience smart outweighs his book smart. But he's experienced. If I'm to take him at his word, he's very experienced, smart on the auctions, and so he helped clarify some things, or he helped me explain something in a way that in my opinion, I was not explaining it fully enough. So I'm not upset at all. I just felt the need to bring it up, and frankly, I thought he might be on the call just to make sure, that I didn't say anything he felt was not completely clear and accurate. So that's why I said what I did. But the bottom line for me is this the reinstitution of the Iraqi dinar going to happen? In my opinion, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. And going to what I initially was calling for, the Iraqi dinar, the 3 zeros apparently had to have been removed for them to have a rate, because someone was saying something about Kuwait hid theirs when they did their reval for 10 days. And now I was wondering if Iraq is hiding theirs for a number of days, an unknown number of days, and if so, when would it have started? The fact that they would have already removed the 3 zeros. And
let me put it to you this way: I don't think they're going to come out and say, on this date we're going to remove the zeros.
No.
I think they're going to do it internally and then just come out and say the 3 zeros are gone.
Which is what they did when they posted the budget. The budget was already out before they posted it on, what was it, last week? They had already did it, but they didn't publish it. So they're holding it.
Well, the CBI still has to change the rate. I mean, the 3 zeros have to be lopped off. When I say lopped off, it's a denominational reinstitution, meaning they don't literally. If you happen to have a 3-0 currency and you're an Iraqi national in country, you just pretend the 3 zeros aren't there. Even if you have the provisional currency, the 3 zeros aren't there. But that still has to be done before they can come out and say, okay, now we are officially reinstituting in country.
Okay. Now, the fact that they're saying that up to 25 dinars can be imported and sums no greater than 5 dinars can be exported out of the country, what does that mean? Because
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well, the rest of that is, if you no longer have the 3-0 currency, and now you're saying in your laws that up to 25 dinar can be imported and sums no greater than 5 dinars can be exported out of the country.
Where were you finding this?
A gentleman had a conference call, and he read it from just the other day. Was it today's Wednesday? It could have came out on Monday. I think it was the export thing. They had an article on the export.
One of the issues is, when you think about it, here let's say you're an Iraqi national, and you're a let's say you're an official and you have some power, and you're sitting on 100,000 provisional dinar, and you're thinking to yourself, well, if I can cut a deal with someone to get this out of the country, then they can exchange it where the 3 zeros are recognized, you know. So, you know, that could be part of what's going on there. But I wish I had the direct thing, because I'd like to investigate it myself. But it makes sense that they're going to be trying to control the export of a currency prior to its reinstitution. Now, with the Kuwaiti dinar, what they did was, when they reinstituted, you had to go in country to exchange, and you only had 90 days, I believe. So what we had to do is we had to contract a firm to take all of our currency to Kuwait and exchange it directly in Kuwait. So that's a little different than what's going to happen here. And I surely wouldn't want to have to get on an airplane with 10 million dinar, go through TSA, go through international, you know, either in London or Rome or something like that on my way to Iraq, and then go to Iraq and assume that those folks aren't going to mess with me with 100,000 or 10 million dinar, you know, and then do the exchange. Yeah, and then I got to trust them that the money's going to transfer to my bank. I just wouldn't want to be involved in any of that.
It's not that simple. I mean, wouldn't you have some letter or some confirmation from some authoritative figure saying that you're traveling with such and such amount to do such and such a transaction? There's something called a FinCEN report. If you're taking currencies that are worth over $10,000, you have to report to the authorities. My only point is, I don't know if I want to trust some bank in Iraq to transfer the money to my account in the United States. Yeah.
I'm just saying, my point is, I'm glad I can do my exchange here and I don't have to go there.
Yeah, right. I understand that. I mean,
I wouldn't want to go through TSA, even if I was flying from New York to Dallas, Texas. I wouldn't want to have to get on a plane and go through TSA with 10 million dinar, because some group in a uniform is going to grab that or question it.
So you don't think they'll understand your letter, your FinCEN form? You don't think they'd understand that?
I just think that there's 10% of people that have a badge and a gun just abuse it, and I don't want to take the chance.
I agree with you there.
You know,
I agree with you there, but if you had to,
you know, every additional layer makes me nervous. So I've often said, if I had to go to Canada, I don't even know if I'd want to cross the border in a car. I'd want to just walk across, you know.
Yeah,
when I was a kid, I had relatives in Michigan. We used to walk. There was a bridge 3 blocks from my grandparents' home in Michigan, in Detroit, and we could just walk to Canada. So just for the heck of it, we go to Canada for lunch just to say, wow, we left the country for lunch.
Yeah, right across the bridge. What's that? It starts with a W, I think, wasn't it?
There was a.
I know.
But we just lived in a little neighborhood, and we just literally walked over to a bridge and we could cross it.
Yeah, it's right across the river. Right across the river. I can't think of the name of it, but whatever. But if you had to go and change or deposit some funds and have them to wire it to your bank here in the States, then you just stay there until you get a confirmation that it's been wired. That's all.
Well, and of course you take whatever precautions are necessary. I'm just saying I'm glad I don't have to go there and do any of that.
I hear you. All right.
You know?
Well, thanks. I'll look for that article. I got your number. I'll send it to you. I'll look for it and send it to your phone.
I appreciate that. All right.
You got it.
Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, our next caller is area 405. That's 405. Go ahead.
Good morning. It's Tom in Oklahoma again.
Yes, sir, Tom.
Well, I don't have a roadster headed for Mars yet, but I do have a question here. I've been talking with my brother, and we'd wish to share, our currencies and everything. And I've thought about it and everything else, but it looks like I wouldn't be able to give a gift thing to him because it would be over the limits of, the gift tax, I believe it is.
Well, wait a minute. If you're gifting pre-RV currencies, let's say you're giving Dinar. Now, let's say the Dinar, for simplicity's sake, is $1,000. You could give him 15 million Dinar today because that's only worth $15,000. Doesn't matter what it's worth post-RV. For the determination of the gift tax is based on the value of the gift at the time it was given. So if you're allowed to give up to $15,000 of property gift tax-free in 2019, you could give him 15 million Dinar.
Well, let's say it's over 100 million.
You got a problem. If you have 100 million Dinar, that's $100,000. So anything you give him in excess of 15 million Dinar or $15,000 in U.S. currency, you'd have to pay a gift tax. If you give him, let's say you give him 25 million Dinar, 15 million of it would be tax-free. The 10 million additional Dinar, which is worth $10,000, you'd have to pay a federal gift tax on.
Which would be what, 55% or something?
It'd be about $4,000. The gift tax would be approximately $4,000.
Well, I kind of asked a question what would you do in this scenario? Perhaps I could sell it to him at the fair value of it.
Well, certainly you could do that.
And there'd be no gift tax or anything.
Right.
And I could also purchase from him for the fair value of his half of what all he has.
Or you could sell it to him for less than you paid for it and take the loss, I guess. I mean, I don't know the specifics of it, but you're making it sound as though you have a lot of currency and you're the one that initially purchased it. What you could have been doing is gifting it to him every year. You could have, if you had a gift letter in December for 15 million, you could have given it turned right around in January and given him another letter for 15 million.
Well, if I had a brain, yes, we could have done that. But I was wondering if this would be a way to go rather than going with the gift tax and and having to pay that, but and say possibly it would be payable upon revaluation.
Here's what you could do. You could gift him the 15 million now, and then after the revaluation, I've just got to ask a personal question. Are you married?
No, sir. My wife passed in 2014.
I'm sorry to hear that. You could still give him $15,000 every year post-RV gift tax-free as well. So you could give him if you give him 15 million Dinar now, I don't know why you'd need more than that anyway, because 15 million, even at $1 at exchange, is $15 million. That should be sufficient. But if you wanted to give him more, you could then give him 15,000 every year thereafter, gift tax free as well.
Well, we were kind of going to. There's 5 of us kids that are still alive, and he's the one that got me into this to begin with. And I decided that I was going to go ahead and just go ahead and keep it instead of, I think it was through a corporation that you'd pay so much up front, and then if it revalued, fine, you could pay the rest and then cash it in or whatever, but it never did, and I just couldn't see throwing my money away, so I went ahead and purchased it total. And I did that, I've been in it almost 5 years now, but kind of a greenhorn there. But the thing is, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the only thing that makes sense is for you to get whomever you want to give them 15 million now, because if the reinstitution happens, then the currency, it may not have revalued, but it still will increase substantially in value. So you're going to want to create a gift letter, a notarized gift letter now before the currency reinstitutes, and then you can, like I said, you can still create a cash flow for him post-RV, and there are other ways you can get money to him without incurring a gift tax, and those are the types of things we'd be discussing at our post-RV seminar.
Yeah, The thing is, between he and I, and we were just going to go ahead and redistribute it from each of us to our own kids and everything. And
whatever you do,
over,
do it. Whatever you do it now. Whatever you're going to do it now.
Otherwise, the fair value will be a lot higher.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You won't have the leverage.
Well, the thing is, what we would distribute to our brothers and sisters and let them distribute it to their grandkids, to their children and their grandchildren.
You can give them each up to 15 million dinar right now, and if it comes back at $1, you've given every one of them $15 million gift tax free. I don't know why that should be more than sufficient.
True. No,
all right.
I never imagined I would have this kind of money, and I just hope I live to see it as far as that goes. But
well, don't we all hope that? But what I would do I would just give them each 15 million dinar and leave it at that.
Okay.
All right.
Would you, by any chance, give it to them physically and tell them not to sell it?
If I were you, I wouldn't. I would create the gift letters. I would conduct the exchange, and then I'd transfer the money to them afterwards.
Okay.
You could give them the currency to do the exchange if you want. If you just don't want to, you can do it either way. Now, for example, I'm gifting to my children, but I'm not giving them the currency. I'm going to do the exchange, but I'm gifting through my trust. But you can do it either way. If you'd prefer that they do their own exchange, they can do that. It's going to require, though, that they have a copy of your gift letter to prove where they got the currency, and they're going to need a copy of your purchase order where you earmark the portion that they gave them. But again, once the reinstitution happens, prior to the revaluation, we'll be back to have a special conference call just to talk about the procedure of the exchange.
Sounds great.
Okay?
I'll get off of here and let you help somebody else there, and I appreciate the information.
Yes, sir. Take care.
You too.
All right, our next caller is 321. That's 321. I bet that's Ron.
Yes, this is your problem child.
I got a bunch of them over here. I don't need any more. What's up? What's up?
For the last gentleman with his conflict, how creative is he? These documents are private, and there is such a thing, though not recommended, called backdating.
Well, obviously I can't go there.
I know you can't, but I can.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah. I understand what you're saying. I understand.
Only a suggestion.
Okay. And I'll just stay out of that.
That's fine. I'll take the heat on that one.
Okay. All right, Ron.
Just a suggestion. If you're creative, you can do a lot of things privately.
That's true. And if you have a date challenge notary, that helps too.
Notary's only notarizing the signature.
I know, but they also
contact.
They affirm the date.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Because the gift letter needs to be notarized. Is my point. But I appreciate the point, Ron. Yeah. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. Our next caller is area code 404. That's 404.
Hey, Jim. How you doing, buddy?
Who's this?
All right, this is Stu from Atlanta. Long time.
Oh, yes. It's been a while. How you doing?
Fantastic. Just trying to catch up with the times, and I kind of just want to ask you a question that brings everything home back to me. I kind of went off the beaten path here, and had read a book called Be the One to Execute Your Trust, and I was also going through the Wise, Concise Trustee Handbook, and I noticed that these books mainly come from they want you to be the trustee perspective. And I know that I think your approach is to be the beneficiary. Is that correct?
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, there's three issues. One is the settlor or grantor, the person creating the trust. The second is the trustee, the person that is going to either assist or solely manage the trust. And then there's the beneficiary, which would also be the settlor or the grantor. Now, the problem with a trust where you are both the settlor and the trustee is that you have lost your privacy and your asset protection under the law. Now, there are a couple of trusts that have been created to try to still allow you to have direct control of the assets in the trust and have your asset protection. One is called the pure trust. Another one's the constitutional trust. There's even this creature called a non-grantor trust. All of those trusts have been flagged by the IRS. So if you set up one of those trusts and then you have currencies and we're not talking about a trust that has $25,000 or $50,000 in it. You have one of those trusts and you have $100,000, $5 million in that trust, you're going to be talking to the IRS in a hurry. As a matter of fact, we even have, if you go to our website, we even outline the trusts that have been flagged by the IRS, and they are precisely the trust that you're talking about. Now, the trust that we have is a self-settled trust. It is a private contract constructed by you for you. You choose your beneficiary. You set the terms. You decide if you're going to make gifts. If you want to change the terms of the trust, you can. If you want to replace the trustee, you can. If you want to remove assets from the trust, you can, even though you're not the trustee. So you still, at the end of the day, have control of what's going on.
Okay, I had also read. Are you familiar with the Circular 7 dealing with the from the Federal Reserve dealing with how trusts are managed?
No, I'm not sure what you're talking. I might know what you're talking about, but from your description, I don't know what you're referring to.
I'll shoot it over to you. I was reading something, I guess, just dealing with trust from dealing with the Geneva Convention. That have you ever heard of? You're talking about international trusts,
Where
right? you can be the grantor, the beneficiary, and the trustee. Have you heard of that?
Okay, offshore trusts are a different creature, and there are some liberalizations within those trusts, some of it having to do with the fact that those jurisdictions will not entertain audits from the IRS or civil or even criminal litigation. Civil litigation or criminal accusations. So that's a little bit different than a domestic trust. That we have to stay pretty much in the box. We've created the most flexible domestic asset protection trust package on the street. I'm convinced of that because I see stuff every day. But when you go offshore, then the rules are different. Then you're operating under the rules of those jurisdictions. So that's a little different. But send me what you've got, and I'll be happy to look it over.
Okay. And also, I had sent you a while back my private business trust that I had purchased before knowing you from another entity. For review, and I think you were reviewing it for a fee, but I had never got an email back.
Okay. I've got your number. I'm going to call you after this call because I've got to ask a couple of personal questions, and I'm going to go to our attorney. So let me call you back because I don't want to ask certain questions on this line.
Okay, gotcha. No problem, right. Jim. I'll be waiting your call. Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you later this afternoon, Stu.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, Stu's our last caller for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to the call. I hope those of you that are listening for the first time and might be interested in the things we've had to say will contact us and get our initial trust package. Once again, you're under absolutely no obligation whatsoever by receiving the package, even though it includes everything you need if you should decide to proceed. Review the information. Contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer those questions, and there will be no consultation fee. Our next call is scheduled for next Wednesday afternoon, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get an emergency email out and schedule an emergency conference call. Failing that, I will be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great week.